Welcome to Compound Thought. Today we're doing an in-depth exploration of a voice that really cuts through the noise with some refreshing candor and, frankly, profound insight. We're talking about Scott Galloway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're new to his work, Galloway isn't just a professor. He's a serial entrepreneur, a pretty captivating media personality, and he's authored 5 impactful books.
Right. And he's really known for that direct, no-nonsense style, wouldn't you say? About business, but also about life in general.
Absolutely. And the book we're focusing on today, The Algebra of Wealth, is just a prime example of that style.
It really is. This isn't, your typical personal finance guide. It's not full of endless budget spreadsheets or those fleeting life hacks you see everywhere.
Right.
Instead, Galloway kind of strips wealth creation down to its fundamental principles, the ones that endure.
So it's more foundational.
Exactly. It's a pragmatic, actionable guide for, well, achieving economic security within the system we have, the capital system. It moves beyond just budgeting to really understanding the core mechanics of how you build lasting prosperity.
Okay, so our mission then, in this comprehensive discussion, is to really unpack Galloway's core framework, how he sees navigating our financial world.
Think of it as a shortcut, maybe, to getting really well informed.
Yeah, and we'll pack it with some surprising facts, maybe a bit of humor too, to keep you engaged.
Right. This exploration is really tailor-made for you if you feel like, you generally have your act together, but you want to make sure you're making the absolute best of your blessings.
And strategically planning for that true, durable economic security he talks about.
Exactly.
So let's get into it. Where does he start?
Well, he presents this remarkably clear central equation for economic security. It's almost like a scientific formula, actually.
Good equation. Okay.
It's Phoceus plus Stoicism X times X diversification.
Huh. Focus plus. Stoicism times diversification.
Interesting.
What's fascinating here is how each component isn't just additive. It's not just plus, plus, plus. It's a crucial multiplier, especially those last 3 working together.
Ah, okay, so they amplify each other. Precisely. Which implies that wealth creation isn't some sudden lucky strike. It's not winning the lottery. It's a deliberate, multifaceted process.
A journey, really. Something that unfolds slowly, intentionally.
That's the idea. Glow?
I really like that it's framed as an equation. It makes it feel tangible, something you can actually work on.
Definitely.
But what's really striking, I think, is that Galloway openly admits he didn't always follow this advice himself. Not at all.
Oh, yeah, he's very upfront about that. He shares his own experience aiming to be an outlier in his 20s.
Chasing those big capitalist success markers, right? That swing for the fences mentality.
Totally. Convinced he was exceptional, somehow above the rules that applied to everyone else.
And he describes that early mindset as, what was it? Arrogant and wrong.
That's it. He tells this story about scoffing at his friend Lee, who was prudently putting, I think it was like $2,000 a year into an IRA.
Right. And Galloway basically said, if $2,000 matters to me at age 65, well, he said something quite drastic.
He did it. It perfectly illustrates that common trap, doesn't it? Believing grand gestures or some kind of inherent genius will magically solve everything.
Instead of those consistent, seemingly small actions, like Lee was doing.
Exactly. The boring stuff that actually works.
And that mindset, that arrogance, it eventually caught up to him, didn't it?
It did. He talks about this pivotal moment when he was 42, his first son was born,
Right.
and despite having an MBA, despite founding successful companies, he was hit by this profound wave of shame, he calls it.
Shame? Over what?
Over his own lack of financial security. Even with all his success and knowledge.
Wow, so it wasn't a lack of understanding money intellectually. He knew the theory.
Oh, he knew the theory inside out. The problem was his behavior. His actions didn't match his knowledge.
That really underscores it then. Intellectual knowledge, while it's valuable, it's just not enough. Good, consistent financial behavior is absolutely crucial for real-world results.
It's everything. And that powerful realization that shame really became the bedrock for the first principle in his equation, Stoicism.
Stoicism. Okay, so let's unpack that. What does he mean by Stoicism in this context?
Well, Galloway's core argument here is that character. That's the fundamental ingredient. It's what allows our intended behaviors like saving diligently, investing consistently to become durable, to actually stick.
So it's like the foundation for good habits.
Exactly. It's what serves as a robust defense against, well, all the temptations of modern capitalism, which are everywhere, and against our own inherent human frailties, laziness, greed, fear. And also against the inevitable setbacks we all face. Life throws curveballs.
Right, so character is the shield.
In a way, yes. Ultimately, it's about aligning what you do with who you are, making your actions reflect your values.
So it's not enough to just decide to save more, for example.
Yeah.
You need to build the inner resilience, the framework to actually
Wow.
do it consistently
Yeah.
over years and decades.
Precisely. And he points out that our sort of ancient heathen defenses often just crumble against modern temptation.
How so? What's the connection there?
Well, it's fascinating. Our primal instincts, right? Originally hardwired for survival, finding food, propagating the species.
Basic survival stuff.
Yeah. But now, those same instincts drive this relentless craving for, well, nearly everything.
Like what? Give me an example.
Oh, anything. He jokes about olive oil-infused toothpaste. Or, luxury items like Panerai watches or Manolo Blahnik shoes.
The status symbols.
Exactly. These expensive goods become modern status signals. We're unconsciously broadcasting our perceived value to potential mates, even if we don't realize it. It's rooted deeply in those evolutionary drives.
Huh. Never thought of my toothpaste that way. And that ties directly into what he calls the hedonic treadmill, right?
Absolutely, the hedonic treadmill. You acquire something new, you get that burst of happiness.
Yeah, feels good for a bit.
But then your baseline just resets. We adapt incredibly quickly.
We've all felt that. He gives those great examples like, once you've stayed at a Four Seasons, a nice Hyatt, which is perfectly
Oh, so
fine.
it doesn't hit the same, does it?
Right. Or that brilliant line from the TV show Frasier. Niles Crane is somewhere fancy and he laments. What was it?
This is only heaven for the people who can't get into the real heaven.
Ah, yes. That perfectly captures that elusive, ever-moving goalpost of more. So how does Galloway suggest we even begin to step off that treadmill? Or at least manage it?
Well, he'd argue it starts with understanding the diminishing marginal utility of money.
Okay, fancy term. What does it mean practically?
It just means the first dollars you earn have immense power. They change your life, food, shelter, safety, huge impact.
Right, basics.
But after a certain point, once you have reasonable economic security, each additional dollar brings less and less incremental happiness. The bang for your buck decreases.
So going from $0 to $50 a year is life-changing. Going from $5 million to $6 million.
Probably doesn't move the happiness needle much, if at all. So to counter that relentless striving, it becomes a conscious battle against our natural wiring.
How do you fight your wiring?
It involves cultivating gratitude consciously, finding fulfillment in experiences and relationships rather than the next thing. It actually takes, well, stoicism to truly appreciate what you already have instead of constantly wanting more.
That's a really powerful distinction. And he contrasts this kind of deep work with what he calls the personality ethic versus the character ethic. Tell me about that.
Right. So modern society, especially online, is just full of life hacks and hustle porn.
Yeah, mushroom coffee, ice baths, aggressive networking tactics.
Exactly, all promising these shortcuts to success. But Galloway, and he cites Stephen Covey here from the 7 Habits,
Classic book.
argues these are just short-term tactics. They focus on how you present yourself, the personality ethic, not who you are, which is the character ethic.
Okay, so what's the real danger, in his view, of focusing just on those surface-level tactics?
Yeah.
The personality stuff.
The danger is simple. They inevitably slide back. They don't last. Covey noted this trend way back in the 80s, this shift away from building character through virtues like, temperance, industriousness, patience, the slow, unsexy stuff.
Because the personality ethic feels easier, faster.
Probably. It gives you that momentary boost. But without that deep foundation in character, the tactics just don't stick. If you haven't built the underlying principles, the quick fixes will always fail to create durable, lasting change.
So no shortcuts. It's about building that foundational strength, which leads to his idea of cultivating character through consistent action. You are what you do.
Exactly. Not just what you say you'll do or intend to do. Character emerges from what you consistently do.
And habit development plays a role here.
Huge role. Good habits can supercharge this cycle. They help direct our brain's natural reactivity towards more proactive, beneficial responses until they become almost second nature. You automate the good behavior.
Okay, so it's about building those routines. And what about managing emotions? Does stoicism mean suppressing feelings?
No, not suppressing. Galloway acknowledges that things like anger, fear, greed, they're normal human responses. We all feel them.
Right.
The Stoic objective, though, isn't to not feel them. It's to prevent them from determining our behavior, especially our financial behavior.
So you notice the fear during a market downturn, but you don't panic sell because of it.
Precisely. You recognize it, you process it, but you don't let it drive the bus. You stick to your rational plan.
That's a crucial distinction for making rational choices, especially with money. And it also connects to what he says about luck and attribution bias, right?
Yes, definitely. He observes that successful people often tend to underestimate the role luck played in their success.
So they think it was all skill and hard work.
Right, which leads them to overestimate their own capabilities sometimes. And conversely, those who are less successful often do the opposite. They blame external forces for everything.
And to overlook their own agency or decisions.
Exactly. The reality is, success is almost always a mix, isn't it? Hard work, talent, timing, luck, it all plays a part.
So being aware of this attribution bias is key.
It's vital for critical self-assessment after both wins and losses. It helps you learn effectively, rather than becoming overconfident after a win or just perpetually blaming the world after a loss. That kind of thinking stalls your growth.
That self-awareness, telling the difference between luck and skill, sounds like a real cornerstone for personal growth, not just financial.
Absolutely.
Does Galloway extend this idea of character beyond just our individual discipline? Like, how does it affect how we operate in communities or relationships?
He absolutely does, and it's a really powerful connection he makes. He introduces this concept from an Italian economist, Carlo Cipolla, about the stupid person.
Okay, what defines a stupid person in this context?
It's someone who causes damage or loss to others without getting any personal gain themselves. Sometimes they even arm themselves in the process.
Ah, so it's about causing negative externalities, essentially, through thoughtlessness or malice?
Right. And the point Galloway makes is that strong character, meaning you're reliable, honest, considerate, not stupid, in Cipolla's sense, acts as a wealth accelerant.
How so?
Because people are just much more likely to support you, collaborate with you, trust you, open doors for you if you have a reputation for good character. Trust and reputation are invaluable assets. People want to work with decent, reliable folks.
That makes total sense. It's fascinating how he ties individual character directly to social and economic outcomes. He argues that true fulfillment actually comes from serving others.
He does. He even cleverly reframes that cynical Gordon Gekko line from the movie Wall Street.
Greed is good, not that one.
No, the other one. If you need a friend, get a dog.
Ah, right. Very cynical.
But Galloway flips it. He suggests it actually highlights our fundamental human need for reciprocal relationships, for responsibility to others, for connection. It's a really profound twist.
That is brilliant. And a practical way to foster these relationships and build that character is by forming what he calls a kitchen cabinet. What's that?
It's basically a small, trusted group of advisors, people who will give you unvarnished advice.
Like Andrew Jackson's informal cabinet, historically.
Exactly that idea. These people provide crucial, different perspectives. They tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear.
And they can help you avoid making really big mistakes. Those 15 car pileups of bad decisions, as he puts it.
Precisely. You need people who aren't afraid to challenge you.
So it's about building this robust support system of honest counsel. And he gives a really simple yet powerful example of cultivating this character in daily life. Practicing kindness, specifically tipping well.
Yeah, it sounds small, but his point is it's an easy act that helps instill habits of generosity and grace, especially in everyday service interactions.
Like when the barista messes up your latte, don't fly off the handle.
Right. Practice grace. These small conscious acts build the muscle for handling bigger challenges later on. Generosity becomes more of a default behavior.
It's true. Those small choices really compound into significant character traits over time. And then he challenges a major social taboo, talking about money.
Yes, this is a big one. He argues that the wealthy and employers often perpetuate this idea that it's impolite or crass to discuss compensation or financial strategies.
Why? Because it benefits them?
Largely, yes, it maintains information asymmetry. But Galloway says in a capitalist society, these open conversations offer invaluable intel.
We should be benchmarking our budgeting, talking about tax strategies, sharing insights on what different jobs pay.
Absolutely. It helps normalize financial literacy for everyone, not just those already in the know. Knowledge is power here.
This is such a critical point for financial health, but so many people shy away from it. And he culminates this section on Stoicism and character with perhaps the most impactful relationship for economic security.
Your spouse.
Your spouse. He argues that choosing a life partner is, hands down, the most critical economic decision you will make in your life.
The data he presents is stark. Married individuals are, 77% wealthier on average than single people?
Yeah, and your net worth typically increases about 16% each year you stay married. Those are massive numbers.
Huge. It highlights the sheer economic power of partnership, of pooling resources and efforts.
Conversely, he notes that divorce is financially devastating. It reduces wealth drastically by about 3/4, he says, for both men and women.
Ouch. And what's really eye-opening is that financial disagreement is the second most argued topic among couples.
Second only to tone of voice or attitude, which probably often relates back to money stress anyway.
Very likely. He even suggests, maybe controversially, that marrying someone better at money than you can be a significant benefit.
Because an unhealthy relationship with money or conflicting approaches can just eat away at any relationship, no matter how strong the initial bond.
Exactly. Financial alignment is crucial for long-term stability, both emotional and economic.
Okay, let's shift our attention now. Moving on from Stoicism, we get to the focus component of the wealth equation. How does he define focus?
He describes focus as the deliberate application of your attention, your time, and your energy. Primarily, this is directed towards your career.
So hard work is the engine.
Right, hard work is the horsepower, as he puts it. But without focus, without direction, you're just spinning in place, burning energy without going anywhere.
It's about conscious direction of that energy.
Precisely.
I appreciate his frankness here, too. He acknowledges that universal truth. You can have it all, just not all at once.
Yeah, no sugarcoating. He shares his own story, working incredibly intensely in his 20s and 30s, really sacrificing balance.
To achieve the equilibrium he has now.
Right. And he cites a study showing that a staggering 86% of millionaires work more than 50 hours a week.
Wow, 86%.
Yeah. And for those who work fewer hours, he says, efficiency becomes absolutely paramount. It's about how you work, the quality and focus, not just logging the hours.
And this efficiency also ties into knowing your limitations, doesn't it?
Yes. He strongly advocates for self-awareness. Accept your personal boundaries. Don't try to be that person who seemingly excels at everything effortlessly.
Because most people aren't that person.
Exactly. And it's okay. Acknowledge your limits and allocate your precious energy strategically where it has the most impact.
You mentioned constraints earlier. He talks about the power of constraints. That seems counterintuitive. How can limitations be powerful?
It does seem backward, but his argument is compelling. We often see limitations as just obstacles, right?
Something to overcome or remove.
But Galloway argues they can actually ignite creativity and efficiency. He gives the example of his firm, Profit, hiring new mothers who needed flexible schedules.
Okay.
And he found that by having to work around those constraints, they actually developed more efficient processes and, interestingly, a stronger company culture. The constraints forced innovation.
So how can we, as individuals, practically identify and leverage constraints in our own lives? Turn them into positives.
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that constraints force resourcefulness. If you have limited time, like those new mothers, you become absolutely ruthless with prioritizing your schedule.
Makes sense.
If you have limited capital for a project, you get incredibly creative about finding low-cost or no-cost solutions instead of just throwing money at the problem.
So it's about embracing the limitation, whether it's external or self-imposed, as a catalyst.
Exactly. It pushes you to find more innovative, often more effective ways to reach your goals. It's really a mindset shift, seeing the constraint not as a wall, but as a challenge that sharpens your thinking.
Necessity is the mother of invention, basically.
That's it. And this leads directly to one of his most, maybe controversial, but powerful pieces of advice.
Which is?
Don't follow your passion, follow your talent.
Ooh, okay. That definitely goes against the grain. We hear follow your passion constantly.
But he debunks it, suggesting it's often advice given by people who are already rich and successful. For them, it worked out, or they can afford for it too.
So what's the alternative?
Instead, he advocates identifying and relentlessly developing your talent. Because mastery of that talent, becoming really good at something valuable, that naturally leads to passion.
Along with the economic rewards and recognition that come with mastery.
Precisely.
Yeah.
He uses the example of tax lawyers. Nobody dreams of being a tax lawyer as a kid.
Probably not.
But the ones who become really, really good at it, they often become passionate about it because they're masters of their craft, they're highly respected, and they're very well compensated. The passion follows the competence and the rewards.
That's such a practical reframing. But it is hard because we're bombarded with those follow your passion messages. How does he suggest we actually shift our mindset? It feels less romantic, maybe.
It does feel less romantic, you're right, and it's counterintuitive. Galloway isn't saying passion is bad or that you shouldn't have it. He's saying it's often an outcome, a result of mastery and creating value, not the starting point.
So focus on getting good first.
Yes. Look at what comes easily to you that seems difficult for other people. That's often a sign of an innate talent,
Even if it's not glamorous.
especially if it's not glamorous. For many people, their true talent isn't something flashy. But when you become exceptionally good at something the market values and you're rewarded for it, that's where deep satisfaction and often, yes, genuine passion blossoms.
So it's about redefining success, focusing on competency, on value creation first.
Exactly.
So how do we find this talent he talks about if it's not always obvious? He defines it broadly, right?
Yeah, basically. What comes easily to you that's difficult for other people? He gives that example of Connie Hallquist. Her talent wasn't something obvious like tennis or trading stocks.
It was managing people.
Right. Kind of an amorphous skill, hard to quantify, but immensely valuable in business. He encourages self-reflection, trying new things, putting yourself in different contexts.
And listening to feedback from others. What do they say you're good at?
Yes, definitely listen to others. They often see strengths in us that we overlook because they come so naturally to us. Like his example of Johnny Lynn, who had this real knack for numbers, but desperately wanted to be seen as a strategy guy.
But his value is in the numbers.
Right. We often don't value what comes easily to us, and it's critical to acknowledge the exception he makes.
The less than 1% exception.
Yeah. For a tiny minority, pursuing a passion category, think arts, music, pro sports can make sense as a career, but only if they demonstrate truly extraordinary, undeniable talent very early on.
Because the economic bar for success there is just incredibly high.
Way higher than in most other fields. For most people, those are pursuits for joy and leisure, not for building primary economic security.
Okay, so you've identified a talent. How do you direct it strategically in your career?
Well, he clarifies the difference between your job, your profession, and your industry. Your talents get leveraged at the intersection of those three.
And he makes an interesting point about leveraging others' investments.
Yes, particularly government investments in research and infrastructure. Think about Silicon Valley built on decades of defense and research spending.
Or Google's core search algorithm, initially funded by government grants.
Even Tesla, leaning heavily on federal loans and tax credits early on. His point is, you pay taxes, so those investments are, in a sense, yours for the leveraging. Find ways to ride those waves.
That's a really shrewd observation, smart leveraging.
Yeah.
He also emphasizes finding an organizational culture that aligns with your personality.
Crucial. A place where the environment brings out your best qualities, helps you thrive, makes you more productive and engaged. Fit matters.
Now let's tackle entrepreneurship. He presents it with a hefty dose of reality, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. He really challenges that romanticized Instagram filter view of being your own boss.
Highlights the high failure rates. What is it, 20% fail in the first year?
Something like that. And nearly half, 45%, are gone within 10 years. It's brutal.
And he stresses the immense stress of it. You're not just responsible for yourself, you're taking on the economic futures of your employees. That's heavy.
Incredibly heavy. He says successful entrepreneurs need this unique, almost contradictory blend of irrational optimism to even start, combined with harsh pessimism to anticipate problems.
Plus, strong communication and sales skills. Because early on, the vision is often all you have to sell.
Exactly. It's definitely not for the faint of heart, according to him.
What about traditional professions? Medicine, law, engineering.
He discusses those too. They require extensive training, certifications, barriers to entry, which creates scarcity and generally leads to high pay. That's the upside.
Is there a downside?
Well, potentially limited upside compared to a hugely successful entrepreneur. And vulnerability to what he calls the high-income trap.
Right, where the progressive tax system can hit those high W-2 earners harder proportionally than the ultra-rich who derive more wealth from capital gains.
Exactly. It's a weird quirk of the system.
But he also shines a light on something often overlooked: the Main Street economy.
Yes. This includes the skilled trades, electricians, plumbers, HVAC techs, and small or regional businesses like car dealerships or local service companies.
Things that aren't necessarily glamorous tech startups.
Right. And surprisingly, he argues these areas are often underinvested in terms of talent and capital compared to the coasts, which means there's significant wealth potential there.
For potentially millions of people outside the major tech or finance hubs.
Absolutely. It's a reminder to look beyond the obvious paths.
It's a compelling argument for broadening our scope. Now, shifting to best practices for career trajectory. He's a big advocate for young professionals being in cities, right? And in the office.
Very strong advocate, especially being physically present at headquarters if possible.
Why? What's the benefit?
That's where you gain mentorship, you build crucial networks, you stumble into opportunities, things that remote work, while convenient, just can't replicate as effectively. Proximity matters for advancement, he argues.
Okay, let's unpack this one. Knowing when to quit. That seems tough.
It is tough. He makes a critical distinction between persistence, which is good, and sticking with something that's clearly failing, which he calls a suicide pact.
So how do you know the difference?
You need to use data, not just emotion. Talk to your trusted mentors, that kitchen cabinet we discussed. Look for external signs, and be willing to strategically pivot.
He learned this the hard way with his company Red Envelope, didn't he?
Painfully so. It failed slowly over 10 years, he said, and led to a 70% loss of his net worth at the time. Huge hit.
Wow. The lesson being,
Failing fast is far preferable to a slow, drawn-out failure that drains resources and morale. Cut your losses when the data says it's time.
that's a powerful, hard-won lesson. He also discusses strategic job changes. Making a move can boost your pay.
Significantly. He cites data showing job switchers see a bigger average pay increase, maybe 7.7% compared to those who stay put, around 5.7%. So market checks and strategic moves can be beneficial.
But he cautions against hobo syndrome.
Right. Don't just jump ship constantly without a clear reason. Any new role should offer clear, concrete advantages, better skills, stronger network, significant pay bump, not just be different. It needs to build your trajectory.
So it's about intentionality, strategic growth, and his advice on loyalty is particularly sharp. What was it?
Be loyal to people, not companies.
Ooh, I like that.
His argument is that organizations are just transitory arrangements. They have no inherent loyalty to you, despite what they might say.
So where should your loyalty lie?
With individuals, mentors, colleagues, people who've helped you and who you can help, that loyalty benefits both parties in the long run. He cites Mike Bloomberg's advice.
What is?
Show up when it matters most, not just when someone gets promoted, but especially when they get fired or face hardship. That builds deep, lasting trust and relationships.
That's excellent advice for life, not just careers. What about side hustles? Are they good or bad?
They can be good. Great for diversifying income, especially for freelancers. Or for funding an asset-building career, like saving up to buy rental real estate.
What's the key?
A planned, integrated approach. The side hustle should ideally complement or support your main focus, not just be empty calories, random stuff for money projects that distract you and burn energy without building towards a larger goal.
Makes sense. And grad school. Thumbs up or down?
Mostly thumbs down, or at least extreme caution. He points to skyrocketing tuition and the huge opportunity cost.
Meaning the lost earnings and lost compounding during the years you're in school and not working.
Exactly. He suggests the primary tangible value, especially from the very top-tier schools, is often the network you build. Beyond that elite level, the return on investment diminishes rapidly. You need a very clear path to recouping the cost.
It's a pragmatic, financial look at a decision often driven by other factors. For building momentum and savings, he brings in Dave Ramsey's debt snowball. How does that work again?
Right, the snowball method. You prioritize paying off your smallest debts first, regardless of interest rate.
Which isn't mathematically optimal, right? You should technically pay the highest interest rate first.
Correct. But Ramsey's, and Galloway agrees, point is that it's about behavioral motivation. Getting those quick wins by eliminating small debts builds confidence and momentum. That psychological boost makes you more likely to stick with the plan.
Ah, psychology over pure math. That's really smart for getting started and staying motivated.
You can then apply that same quick win thinking to starting your savings goals.
And finally, on this topic of focus, he suggests pruning hobbies. What does that mean? Sounds a bit harsh.
Oh, it does sound a bit ruthless, but his idea is to apply the same intentionality to your leisure time as you do to your work time. He suggests a stack ranking approach.
Rank your hobbies. Based on what?
Things like, does it create shared experiences with loved ones? Does it involve exercise? What's the time and cost to value ratio? Are you actually good at it, or does it bring you genuine joy? Is it sustainable long term?
So it's about being conscious of where your limited free time and energy go.
Exactly. The goal is intentionality. Choose the pastimes that truly enrich your life and then really savor them without begrudging the time or cost because you've consciously decided they're worth it. Focus your leisure.
Okay, that makes more sense. Focus applies everywhere. Let's move to the third core component of Galloway's equation, time.
Yes, time. And he emphasizes that time, especially when you're young, is your single most valuable resource. He calls it an immutable weapon in wealth building.
More valuable than money itself, initially.
In a way, yes. He starkly contrasts squandering money, which you can often earn back with squandering time, which is gone forever. You can't get it back.
That really puts it in perspective, and this is where compounding comes in, right?
Absolutely. The magic of compounding. Einstein supposedly called it the eighth wonder of the world.
And Galloway breaks it down clearly.
Beautifully, he shows how small, consistent investments grow exponentially over many years. That example he uses is so powerful.
Investing $12,000 a year, just from age 25 to 35.
Can yield $2.5 million by age 65, assuming historical market returns. But if you wait and start investing that same amount at age 45, you end up with only around $500,000.
Wow, that's a five-fold difference just from starting 20 years later, even though you invest for longer.
It's incredible. It highlights the power of time in the market. He also notes Warren Buffett, 99% of his immense wealth was accrued after age 52.
So the lesson is,
The best time to start investing was 10 years ago. The second best time is right now. Don't wait.
that's a powerful motivator. But compounding isn't always good news, is it? He talks about its evil twin.
Right. Inflation, the relentless compounding force that erodes your purchasing power.
How does that work?
He explains that even seemingly low inflation, say 3% per year, means that something costing $100 today will cost $243 in 30 years.
You'll need nearly 2.5 times the income just to maintain the same lifestyle.
Exactly. And he points out that critical costs like education and healthcare often outpace even that general inflation rate. They grow even faster.
Which is why holding too much wealth in cash is dangerous.
Very dangerous over the long term. It's guaranteed to lose purchasing power almost every single day.
So to counter that erosion, we need to focus on real returns. What are those?
Simply put, your investment return after subtracting inflation. If your investments return 7% and inflation is 3%, your real return is 4%.
And you must achieve a positive real return to actually grow your wealth.
You have to actively outrun inflation just to stay ahead. Otherwise, even if your account balance goes up, your actual purchasing power might be stagnant or even shrinking.
Okay. Now, he also says our brains are pretty bad at dealing with time.
Yeah.
How does that affect us financially?
Yeah, he says we're awful at wrapping our heads around time. This leads to cognitive errors.
Like what?
We tend to have positively biased memories. We remember our winning investments more vividly than our losers.
Sure, confirmation bias.
We also anchor off highs. We get used to a certain income or spending level, and then it becomes the new normal, leading to lifestyle creep. Our spending expands to meet our income or even exceeds it.
So we never feel like we're getting ahead.
Right, and we often underappreciate opportunity costs. That's the potential gain you miss out on when you choose one option over another.
Like the lost earnings, and crucially the lost compounding, if you spend several years in grad school instead of working and investing.
Exactly. Those costs are often invisible, but massive over time.
Those cognitive blind spots are powerful. Now, Galloway describes himself as fundamentally lazy, which is funny, but he uses it to make a point about outsourcing time.
Huh. Yes, it's a great framing. He recognizes that greatness is in the agency of others, meaning leverage other people's skills and time.
So he strategically outsources tasks.
Numerous tasks. He mentions home decor, tech support, dog walking, tax planning, anything that isn't his highest value activity or doesn't bring him joy.
And the goal is to free up his own time.
To reallocate his time to high-value work where he excels and to things he genuinely enjoys, like spending time with his family. He calls it a strategically powerful approach to time management, built on ruthless prioritizing. It's not just for the ultra-rich. The principle applies at many levels.
It's a testament to understanding where your own unique value lies and focusing there, which leads to his practical advice on budgeting and saving. He emphasizes behavior over outcomes, right? Especially for young people.
Yes, exactly. He advocates for learning to save when you're young, even if it's small amounts, primarily to build the saving muscle.
So the habit is more important than the dollar amount early on.
Much more important. Early savings, he argues, are mainly about behavior modification. You're training yourself for your future higher earning years when you can save significant amounts. You need the habit in place first.
That makes sense. Build the muscle when the weights are light. And a core tenet here is measure to manage.
Right. He stresses the importance of, as he puts it, rationally obsessing over your income, spending, and investments. Track it diligently.
but without getting emotionally attached to the numbers day to day.
Exactly. Stay rational. He quotes the saying, "What gets measured gets managed," but adds a crucial warning. Be careful you're measuring the right thing.
Good point. And he believes that actively tracking spending, even with apps and online banking making it easy, fosters real-time awareness, like the old practice of balancing a checkbook.
Yes, that friction, that awareness is powerful. It makes you conscious of where the money is actually going in the moment.
This real-time awareness seems key. He guides you, the listener, to figure out a head-above-water budget. What's that?
It's basically determining your realistic minimum monthly spend. What does it actually cost you to live? This should include necessities, but also a reasonable allowance for lifestyle things that make life enjoyable so it feels sustainable.
Okay, find your baseline.
Find your baseline, your waterline. The immediate goal then is to get your income consistently above that line, creating a surplus, however small initially, that can be directed towards savings and investment.
And he advises setting achievable goals, right? Not pie-in-the-sky numbers.
Yes. Start with immediate, achievable savings goals. Maybe it's just $10 a month to start. Or building a $1,000 emergency fund.
Rather than something huge and distant like $1 million by age 30.
Exactly. Those overly ambitious goals, he says, often lead to demotivation because they feel impossible. You're more likely to give up. Build momentum with smaller, achievable wins first.
It's all about those quick wins, again, for psychological buy-in. He then introduces his 3-bucket model for thinking about money. What are the buckets?
Right, it's a mental model. The 3 buckets are: 1, consumption. This is for your immediate quality of life expenses, day-to-day spending. 2, intermediate. This holds funds for anticipated larger expenses down the road, things like your emergency fund, a down payment for a house, maybe saving for education. 3, long-term. This is for retirement savings and other passive long-horizon investments.
Okay, so it's a way to mentally categorize your money.
Yes, he calls it mental accounting. It's a useful conceptual tool, helps you allocate, but he stresses that money is ultimately fungible. A dollar is a dollar. The buckets are mainly for organizing your thinking and planning.
So practically, how do you allocate funds across these buckets? What's the priority order?
His recommended priority is pretty clear. First, contribute enough to your 401k or equivalent workplace plan to get the full employer match. That's free money, don't leave it on the table.
Always take the match. Got it.
Second, build that initial emergency fund. Get that cushion in place.
That small liquid fund.
Right. And then, once those are covered, start funding your other long-term investments, like contributing more to your 401k or opening a brokerage account. He illustrates this with a hypothetical Jack's budget, showing how even starting small, like putting $20 into an ETF, builds the crucial habit.
And that emergency fund.
Yeah.
How important is that, really?
Critically important as a first step. He highlights building that small, liquid, non-variable fund, say $1,000 to start as an initial achievable goal.
And points out that many people don't even have that.
Yeah, he cites a stat that 56% of American adults lack even a $1,000 emergency fund, which makes it a vital early target. It provides that buffer against unexpected expenses so you don't have to derail your long-term plan or go into debt.
And it's meant to be used, right? If an emergency happens, you use it, then rebuild it.
Exactly. It's a buffer, not a sacred cow. Use it, rebuild it.
What about short-term debt, like credit cards?
He advises managing it intelligently. Don't hide from it. But importantly, continue building your savings habits, even if small, while you're actively paying down that debt. Keep the saving muscle working.
Okay. And as your financial life gets more complex, maybe you have investments, a house, kids, what then?
That's when he suggests engaging professionals, tax advisors, certified financial planners, especially for couples, he emphasizes, to help align your financial approaches and navigate more intricate decisions together.
Which circles back to that most important relationship again.
Absolutely. He reiterates that synchronizing financial strategies with your spouse is just paramount. Money is a leading cause of disagreement and stress in relationships.
And a good financial planner can sometimes act as a mediator.
Often, yes. They can help facilitate those conversations, align goals, and turn a potential point of conflict into a shared financial journey.
Okay, that covers time and its practical applications. That brings us to the final critical component of Galloway's wealth equation, diversification.
Yes, diversification. He defines investing basically as converting your earned income, your labor, into capital.
Money that's put to work to create more value.
Exactly. And he suggests that, unlike the hard work of focus or the discipline of Stoicism, investing, if done right, can sometimes feel like the easiest part.
How so?
Because you're leveraging the intelligence, the effort, the infrastructure built by others, companies, management teams, entire economies. As he says, congratulations, you're now a capitalist.
Huh. Okay, so the fundamental principle here is risk and return, right?
Absolutely fundamental. Higher risk equals higher potential return. Note the word potential.
It's not guaranteed.
Not at all. He puts it bluntly. Risk is the price you pay for the return. You have to accept some risk to get growth. He uses a simple coin flip analogy to illustrate thinking about balancing that risk versus the potential reward.
And that brings us to diversification itself.
Hmm.
He uses a powerful metaphor for it.
Kevlar, like body armor for your finances.
Okay, explain that. How is diversification Kevlar?
It's about broadening your risk profile so that no single failure, no single bullet can fatally injure your portfolio.
So it's not just owning lots of different things.
No. Crucially, it's about owning assets with different risk profiles, assets that are unlikely to all fail at the same time for the same reason.
Give an example.
He uses Apple stock, fantastic company, huge returns, but it carries risks, right? Economic slowdowns hitting iPhone sales, geopolitical issues with China affecting manufacturing, maybe Tim Cook eventually retiring.
Various potential hits.
Right. Now, if you diversify by also owning, say, Nike stock, you reduce some of those risks. A China issue might affect both, but maybe a tech slowdown impacts Apple more than Nike. It's about owning things that react differently to different events.
So they don't all move in perfect lockstep.
Exactly. And he recounts his own painful experience with his company, Red Envelope.
Where he wasn't diversified.
Not at all. Too much concentration plus emotional involvement. It led to a 70% loss of his entire net worth at the time. His takeaway: perfect storms are rare, but they always happen. You have to prepare for them.
Wow. That's a powerful cautionary tale about putting all your eggs in one basket, especially when you're emotionally attached to. And this leads to his firm belief about trying to beat the market.
Yeah, he basically believes in the futility of beating the market consistently over the long term.
He references Warren Buffett's famous $1 million bet, right?
He does. Buffett bet that a simple, low-cost S&P 500 index fund would outperform a selection of actively managed hedge funds over 10 years.
And an index fund won.
Crush them. The S&P 500 returned 126% over the decade, while the actively managed funds averaged only 36%.
So Galloway's conclusion is pretty stark.
Yeah. Over the long term, no one beats it consistently. Trying to actively pick stocks or time the market is, for most people, a losing game against the overall market index.
But does that mean active investing has no place?
No, he clarifies that. Broad market indexes are volatile, so they aren't suitable if you need the capital in the short term. And active investing offers other benefits: learning, engagement.
And maybe opportunities where you do have an informational edge.
Exactly. Like knowing your local real estate market really well or investing in a private business you understand intimately. There's a place for it. But for your core long-term wealth building strategy, he advocates passive indexing. The market typically wins. Don't try to outsmart it.
Okay, so for most of our long-term money, index funds are the way to go. What does a basic capitalist handbook look like from his perspective? What fundamentals do we need to grasp?
He keeps it pretty high level, focusing on core concepts like understanding specialization, Adam Smith's pen factory idea, is the engine of economic growth.
Where everyone doing one specific task well makes the whole process vastly more efficient.
Right. And money just acts as the medium to trade that specialized time and effort.
And how money becomes capital.
Yeah, how money transforms into capital, basically. Money that makes more money through financial markets. He uses a simple example. A bar owner borrows money to open a second bar. The lender gets interest. The owner hopefully gets more profit. The interest is the price of time or the cost of using that capital.
And investing isn't zero-sum. It makes the whole pie bigger.
That's a key point. It's not about taking from someone else. Successful investment ideally creates more overall value.
He quickly covers the key players too, right? Corporations.
As the primary entities organizing labor and capital, they offer equity or stock, which is a claim on the company's assets and future profits.
And understanding their financial statements is crucial.
Absolutely. The income statement, are they profitable? The balance sheet, are they solvent? And the cash flow statement, are they generating real cash? Those tell the story of the business's health. You need to look at all three.
He also touches on the role of government.
Yeah, it's dual role. Rule setters think the SEC regulating markets or tax policy influencing behavior, and also a massive market participant itself issuing trillions in treasury bonds.
And the Federal Reserve's influence.
Huge. He highlights the Fed setting the federal funds rate, which acts like the floor for almost all other interest rates. It's like gravity on the economy, influencing borrowing costs, inflation, everything. He wants you to be aware of these big forces.
Because they affect your savings, your mortgage, your investments.
Definitely. You need to understand the environment you're operating in.
Okay, so that's the broad context. Now let's get really practical. Investment options and strategies. What's Scott Galloway's simplified approach?
His basic three-step strategy is super clear. 1, max out any employer match on your 401k. Again, free money. 2, invest that capital and whatever else you can save, primarily in low-cost, diversified exchange-traded funds or ETFs, mostly focusing on broad U.S. corporate stocks like an S&P 500 index fund. 3, keep adding capital consistently over time until you achieve economic security. Rinse and repeat.
That sounds straightforward. Almost too simple.
It is simple, and that's the beauty of it for most people. He elaborates a bit on the asset classes, though.
Like stocks.
He emphasizes stocks as giving you direct access to the wealth-generating power of corporations. Returns mainly come from the stock price going up over time, price appreciation, and he stresses understanding the real business model, like Google selling ads, not just search.
What about bonds?
Bonds are basically lending money to a company or government. Lower risk, typically lower return than stocks. They provide stability, interest payments, the coupon, and you get your principal back at maturity. Good for balancing a portfolio.
And real estate. He called it the emperor of asset classes.
He did. He likes home ownership, sees it as a kind of forced savings mechanism. Plus, there are significant tax advantages, like the capital gains exclusion when you sell your primary residence, up to $250K for singles, $500 for married couples, tax-free profit.
That's huge. And mortgages can be smart debt, especially with favorable interest rates.
Right. But he notes that direct investment properties, like being a landlord, require active management and carry different risks. It's not passive.
What about things like commodities, currency, derivatives?
He touches on them briefly. Commodities like oil or gold, foreign currencies, and derivatives like futures and options. He makes it clear these are complex. Derivatives can be used for hedging risk by professionals.
But they can also massively increase risk for amateurs.
Exactly. He points to the 2008 financial crisis, where derivatives played a huge role. His general advice for most retail investors building long-term wealth: understand they exist, but probably steer clear for your core strategy.
So stick to the basics. Which brings us back to funds.
Yes, ETFs and mutual funds. He positions these as a retail investor's best friend. Why? Because they offer instant diversification, professional management, even if passive, and generally very low costs, especially with index ETFs. Easy button.
Okay, makes sense. Now, for what he calls investing's final boss.
The tax man.
Taxes, always looming. How does he suggest we approach minimizing their bite?
Well, the goal isn't just to lower your tax rate, but to minimize your taxable income, the amount of your income the government actually taxes.
How do you do that?
One major way is through tax advantages on borrowed money. Mortgage interest deductions are a common example. Or, for the ultra-wealthy, taking out loans against their stock portfolios, like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk are reported to do. They get cash to live on without selling stock and triggering capital gains taxes.
The buy, borrow, die strategy.
Essentially. He also explains deductions and credits. The standard deduction is now quite high, $13,850 per adult in 2023, for example, meaning most people don't benefit from itemizing deductions anymore.
Itemizing would be things like deducting state income taxes up to a limit or mortgage interest.
Right. Only makes sense if your itemized deductions exceed the standard deduction. Tax credits, on the other hand, directly reduce your tax bill and mostly benefit lower to middle income individuals.
He also revisits that high income trap here related to taxes.
Yes. He explains how our progressive tax system, while taking a higher percentage from higher earners, sort of flattens out at the very top income levels. Meaning high-income professionals, doctors, lawyers, executives earning, say, $400K, $800K, can end up paying a higher effective tax rate than billionaires whose wealth comes primarily from capital gains, which are taxed at a lower rate and can be deferred almost indefinitely.
That famous Warren Buffett example again, his tax rate being lower than his secretary's.
Exactly. It highlights how the system is structured to favor capital over labor income at the very highest levels. He also mentions payroll taxes, Social Security, Medicare, which are mandatory deductions from your paycheck.
And the difference between effective and marginal tax rates, why does that matter?
It matters for making decisions about earning additional income. Your effective rate is the total tax paid divided by your total income. Your marginal rate is the rate you pay on the next dollar you earn.
And the marginal rate can be much higher, especially if that extra dollar pushes you into a higher tax bracket.
Right. So, deciding whether a second job is worth it or if a spouse should return to work requires looking at that marginal rate. How much of that extra income will you actually keep after taxes? It's often less than people realize.
That's a crucial calculation. All of this points to the importance of timing your taxes, right? Using tax-advantaged accounts.
Definitely. Strategies like using traditional 401ks or IRAs versus Roth versions.
Explain the difference again quickly.
Traditional. You get a tax deduction now when you contribute, lowering your current taxable income, but you pay taxes on withdrawals in retirement. Roth. You contribute after-tax money now, no upfront deduction. But qualified withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free.
So the choice depends on.
Whether you think your tax rate will be higher now or in retirement. If you expect to be in a higher bracket later, Roth might be better. Pay taxes now at the lower rate. If you're in a high bracket now and expect to be lower in retirement, traditional might be better. Defer taxes until later. It's about minimizing your lifetime tax burden, a powerful tool.
Okay, that's a lot on taxes. What about his parting advice, distilled from a lifetime of investing?
He offers a few key principles. First, zig when others zag. This is basically counter-cyclical investing.
Buy when there's blood in the streets, sell when everyone's euphoric.
That's the idea. Easier said than done, requires real emotional fortitude.
Which ties into his next point. Don't trust your emotions.
Yes. Accept that market volatility is normal. Don't panic sell. Learn from your losses. He mentions Ray Dalio's approach of rigorous analysis after mistakes.
And be willing to take profits.
Yes. When an investment spikes, resist that psychological pull to let it ride forever, hoping for even more. Be willing to take some winnings off the table, rebalance. Don't let greed override your plan.
What about day trading?
Huge thumbs down. He calls it gambling with worse odds and no free drinks.
Oh, why?
He cites data showing something like only 3% of active retail day traders actually make a profit over a 2-year period. It's basically an addiction, he says, not an investment strategy, a sure path to losing your capital for almost everyone.
Okay, steer clear. And finally, a really potent practical piece of advice.
Move.
Just move. Physically relocate.
Yes. He highlights geographic flexibility as a powerful wealth-building tool, especially when you're younger and more mobile.
Specifically moving from high-tax states to low-tax states.
Exactly. Like from New York or California to places like Florida, Texas, or Washington state, which have no state income tax. That alone can save you 10% or even more of your gross income every single year.
Wow. And if you take those significant annual savings and reinvest them,
it dramatically accelerates your wealth building over time. It's a major lever people often overlook.
it really is about optimizing your environment for economic growth. So, pulling it all together, Galloway connects this pursuit of economic security back to something deeper, doesn't he?
He really does. It's not just about accumulating money for its own sake. He posits that ultimately, everything meaningful in life is about others.
Meaning our relationships, our ability to care for others.
Yes. Your ability to support and love the people in your life, and your willingness to let them love and support you. And economic security, he argues, provides the time and resources to focus on relationships without economic stress.
That stress can be so corrosive.
Immense. He shares a really poignant personal anecdote.
About caring for his mother.
Yes, finding true meaning in caring for his shivering, dying mother in her final days. And also finding joy in spoiling his son, taking him to Chelsea football games, going to the mall.
Things that require time and resources.
Exactly. These deeply human moments, he notes, were made possible, or at least much less stressful, by the economic security he had built. It freed him from that constant financial anxiety that burdens so many people in our society.
So it's not about the money itself. It's about what the money allows you to do and who it allows you to be for the people who matter most. Making life truly rich in a broader sense.
Beautifully put. And that really raises the final provocative question for you, our listener. How will you leverage this pursuit of economic security? Not as an end in itself, but as a means. A tool to cultivate and be fully present for your most important relationships, your purpose, truly making your life so rich.
That's a powerful thought to end on, something for all of us to consider. Thanks for listening. I'm Compound Bot. If you enjoyed this podcast, give it a like and share your thoughts in the comments.
Share it with a friend who might find it useful and subscribe so you never miss the next video.
See you next time.